Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial for the Ichimoku scanner dashboard. As you can see, this is the dashboard right here. It has pairs and a list of time frames for those pairs, and this scanner will scan for it will use the Ichimoku strategy, and it will scan for good buying or selling areas, and it will give you notifications like this when a particular time frame when a particular pair for a time frame enters a good buy area or a good sell area. So I'll just press OK. Right. So let me just quickly go over the Ichimoku strategy first. So there are four main elements in Ichimoku trading. The first one is the Kumo Cloud. So let me just open something up. Right. So as you can see, this right here is the cloud, the Kumo Cloud. Now when price breaks out upwards, it is a good buying possibility, whereas if the price breaks out of the cloud downwards, that could be a good sell opportunity. But as you can see, there are too many price breakouts up and down. So the very first thing the dashboard checks is if price is above or below the Kumo Cloud, and it will show it to you like this: P is above the Kumo Cloud or price is below the Kumo Cloud. But this is in white text because this isn't a very good trade signal just yet. And the next thing, I'll go back. So the next thing that the dashboard will check is the Tenkan and Kijun lines. The Tenkan line is this red line, and it is called the conversion line uh, or the turning line. And the blue line, this is called the Kijun or the baseline. Now when the conversion line crosses above the baseline and the price is above the Kumo Cloud, then that becomes a better buying signal. And same way, when price breaks out below the Kumo Cloud and the Tenkan crosses below the Kijun, the conversion line crosses below the baseline, then that becomes a good sell signal. So I'll go back to the dashboard, and as you can see, this right here in the green text, this indicates that the price is above the Kumo Cloud and the Tenkan is above Kijun. And this right here, it indicates that the price is below the Kumo Cloud and Tenkan is below Kijun. I'll just open this and show you. Right, as you can see, price is below the Kumo and Tenkan has crossed below the Kijun. So now this becomes a good selling opportunity. But even with just these two conditions, the Kumo Cloud and the Tenkan Kijun, sometimes you might not get a good trade signal, which is why we sometimes use the Chikou Sen, which is this green line right here. It works 26 bars back. So right here, if I want to see that once the price breaks out and the Tenkan crosses the Kijun, and at that time if the Chikou line is below the cloud, is away from the cloud, then that becomes a good selling opportunity. And in the dashboard you can also specify the minimum distance after the price breaks out of Kumo. So this minimum distance before it sends a signal, and the minimum distance between the Tenkan and the Kijun lines, and the minimum distance between the Chikou and the Kumo Cloud. So you can specify all of these minimum distances, and for different time frames these distances will also be different. So I'll just show you how the point conversion will work. Right, so overall these four things will give you a good strategy on when to buy and when to sell. And with the dashboard you can also use the stochastic indicator to get a good buying or selling opportunity. So let me just go back to this one. Right, so if you are using the stochastic, then once again it will check Kumo Cloud price breakout upwards, then it will check that the Tenkan is above the Kijun, and it will check that the Chikou is, if you are using this Chikou, then it will check if it is above the Kumo Cloud, and finally if you are using stochastic, it will check for buy if the stochastic is above 80. So once the stochastic crosses 80 upwards, that presents a good buy opportunity. And same way for sell, because sometimes like right here the price is within the cloud, but after it breaks out of the cloud, by that time the stochastic indicator has gone inside. So this is no longer a good sell opportunity, which is why it can be a good thing to use the stochastic. And as you can see right here, the price breaks out of Kumo, the Tenkan is above the Kijun, and the stochastic is above 80. So this becomes a good buying opportunity. So I'll show you all of these settings that you can set inside the dashboard. But firstly, this is the overall strategy that the dashboard will use. Okay, now going back to the dash, I'll go to the properties. Right, so one by one I'll go through them. The first one is the magic number. The next one is the pairs preset. So right now we have all 28 pairs selected, but you can select any of these presets like 4x core 7, 14, or you can also specify your own pair list, which will be a comma separated list of all the pairs that you would like, not necessarily 4x, it can be anything that your broker supports. The next up is the number of time frames. Once again, this is a comma separated list. For Ichimoku, I would recommend to stick to higher time frames, but if you like you can also trade with M5, M15, but these aren't always reliable, or you might get very small signals, so I would recommend higher time frames. Next up is the font size. If you want to reduce the size of the dashboard, you can set it to maybe 6 or 7. At font size 5 I think it becomes too small, and for me 8 is a perfect size. Next up is the columns number. So if you have too many pairs open and you want the dashboard to occupy less space, you can increase the number of columns. So this is column 1, column 2. So if you can specify 3 or 4, whatever your screen size will support. Next one is the x-axis and the y-axis distance. It is this distance right here, this is the x and this is the y. So you can specify that to position your dashboard if you want to position it in the upper right or lower right corners. And finally, all of these settings are for alerts. If you want pop-up alerts, you can set it to true, and it will show you the alert only when all of these conditions, like when you get these buy or sell buttons, when all these conditions that you specify come true. And there are sound alerts if you want email or push notifications. By default these are all false. So, and next one is on button click, open in a new window. By default this is set to true. So when you click on any of these buttons, it will open that chart in a new window, and it will use this template, whatever you specify. I have created this Ichimoku 1.tpl file in my templates folder, but you can just create a template and specify it here. But if you set this to false, then the new chart will open up right here in the current window, and it won't change the template because you might already have set up the dashboard and your settings, and you won't want to lose that. So if it is false, it won't use this setting. I'll just set it back to true. Now shift is how many bars back the signal that you want for the Ichimoku. So by default this will be 0, so that it will keep studying the current bar. But if you have too many time frames and too many pairs open, then this is a good property that after 100 ticks it will refresh the dashboard if this is set to 0. If this is set to 1, then it will refresh the dashboard on every new bar. Then it won't use this property. But if the shift is set to current bar, then you can set this, like if you are using higher time frames, then set it to maybe 100 or 200 or whatever value you like, so that otherwise, I mean, if you set it to too low, then your dashboard might hang. So the next, like if you have too many pairs. Next up is use Heiken Ashi price. So by default this is set to true because the Heiken prices are a lot smoother. So let me just show you. Right. So even if the actual price currently is slightly lower, but the dashboard will use the price for the Heiken indicator. So like if this price just crosses over the Kumo Cloud, then it will look at the Heiken's currently close bar for the current bar. But if you set that to false, then it will use the actual open and close prices for that bar. Right. And next up is use stochastic. If you set this to true, then you can set the stochastic settings right here. Or if you don't want to use it, because sometimes for lower time frames you might find that the stochastic will delay the signals slightly, so you can keep this to false if you like. Next up is right here, these are all the minimum distances that you can specify, and these will be converted to points. So suppose you specify a minimum, and these are comma separated values for each time frame. So right here I have 4 time frames, and I have specified these 4 settings for the minimum price and cloud distance when the price breaks out of the Kumo Cloud. So suppose if you set it to just 0, then by default it will take 0 as the minimum price cloud distance. If you specify it to like 0 but only for 3 time frames, then the last time frame will automatically, like if you specify 20, 30, 40, then the last time frame will automatically take it to 0. I'll just set it back to, by default these are all 0. Now if you only want to use the Kumo price breakout strategy, if you do not want to use the TK cross, then you can set this to false. Then it won't check for the TK cross. And if this is set to true, then it will take the minimum distance between the Tenkan and Kijun lines, and the same way all of these values will be converted to points. Let me just show you. So suppose for euro US dollar, suppose this is where the price breaks out of Kumo, and if you specify 50, then it will convert that to 50 to points. So it will check if the price breaks out at and it is at this distance. So it will, the minimum distance that it will check for will be, so at this distance. And same way, if we have suppose something like CAD JPY or something like, then it will convert that to, if you specify 50, then it will check if the price is at this distance. So whatever value you specify, it will convert that into points, right? And the final thing is whether you want to use the Chikou span or not. If this is set to true, it will use these distances, but by default all of these will be 0, and you can specify these values to whatever you like. But if I leave everything to 0, then you'll see that you get way too many signals. Yeah, it takes a minute to load. Okay, so as you can see, with all of those distances set to 0, I'm getting too many sell signals, too many buy signals. Let me just go into one of these. So this is a good signal. Let me go back. So right here, as you can see, that the Tenkan and Kijun are too close together, and so this still seems like a good buy signal. So you can specify that that to whatever you like. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this indicator. I have this dashboard on sale on the MQL5 website, so you can check it out, and you can try its demo if you like, and it should work on the strategy tester. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I really hope you enjoy using it, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'll also leave the MQL5 link in the description, so you can check it out. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. I hope you like it.